Welcome everyone. We will be talking about sourcing the right talent. Basically, ensuring the right talent is the pillar of recruitment in this presentation. So this will be a little longish presentation, approximately 25 to 28 minutes of presentations. So let us proceed. Actually, what is recruitment? What are the right methods of recruitment? Because it is the recruitment which will determine the overall efficiency of the organizations. Remember, we're looking to employ not only skilled employees, but also able employees. We're not looking only to have an able employees, but probably loyal employees thereby. So we are looking not only at productivity of effectiveness, but also of efficiency of longevity, as the case may be. Effective hiring involves predicting the performance of the people you do not know. Remember, this is something which we need to ascertain. We are hiring people whom we do not have any aware of. We are just we are hiring them on the basis of our instinct or probably on the basis of their claims of what they are telling out to be. So this is what the tricky position is all about. So agenda for this presentation is outlining the hiring process, developing interview questions that leads to successful hire. We will be probing a number of slides on this particular aspect as to interview questions are to be put forward. What are the do's and what are the don'ts? Identify questions that you can or cannot ask, as I have already stated around it. Probably then we should go ahead with the evaluation of the applicant, provide tools to hire the best candidate thereof. Stage one is recruitment. Now we will be dwelling upon the recruitment process, partnering with the HR talent specialist, the TAS, as referred to be the talent acquisition specialist, and developing or determining the various sources of recruitment, be it the college campus, be it university campus, be it the consultant, be it certain regions that we are looking into it, depending upon the type of work that we are soliciting to fulfill in. And let us understand the stage one in details. The positioning posting process. There are 6 steps to it. First is, as usual, position has to be created. There is a vacancy that needs to be identified. Two, position goes to the workflows. Now there is a vacancies, there is a position that is vacant. Now this position has to be approved of. It has to be approved by the top management, from the supervisor, from the mid-level executives, and so on and so forth, wherein everybody gives their nod as to saying yes without fulfilling this particular position with the manpower. Things are getting a little bit difficult for the organizations to operate. Number three is wherein the position has been advertised and probably applications are received in the HR. Sorry, not the application, but the requisition has been received by the HR out here. This is what for the first time the HR comes to know that for a viable position and the pertinent job characteristic that particular position entails around it. Fourth, step number four is where the talent acquisition specialist starts working in cooperation with the hire manager and develop advertisement, develop social media uh, snippets, should I say, postings, and probably discusses the recruitment strategies accordingly. Now, once this has been done, it has to be vividly communicated in every career website. First, internally within the organization, and if possible, outside media. And sixth, the hiring manager will be receiving notification that the position has been posted. So this is the step wherever the particular position is required, the supervisor will come to know that notification has been posted and the HR is working upon fulfilling that particular position. Now, this is what we are looking towards it. So the hiring process is what is to be done. Now comes the hiring process. Now it is again fragmented into the 6 steps. Now we have created positions right now. Till now we were discussing everything which was done internally within the company. Remember, within the organization, the position's been created, the position been approved, the position has been notified to the HR. That in HR will work with in tandem to come up with postings. Probably then it has to be circulated communication has to be circulated, and it should be informed to the supervisors or manager where the position has is required. Now we'll come to the external communication process so as to attract the right talent. This is the hiring process in full-fledged. Now, then first times the applicant would be applying it. Since this has been the position has already been posted from the company side, the applicant starts applying. The TAS, the acquisition specialist, reviews, forwards the resumes to the hiring manager. Then the third steps comes off wherein they are subjected to the selection process of interviewing candidate. Reference checks is completed in step number 4. In fifth, the HR extends the offer and does the background check thereby. The last step would be applicant is hired and onboarding starts. It has been initiated. Once a position has been posted in a website, you will receive the uh, probably a recruitment login account altogether. This is what we will be talking about every now and then. The recruitment login account comes in. The login is your company login. Password will be sent to the open hire position or the applicant as the case might be. Now, maximizing the position description. Now, how do we go around it? How do we advertise? How do we sensitize and probably inform the potential applicant for the for attracting or applying to the requisite vacancies? First and foremost is the using of the conventional job titles, whatever that has been done. We have a lot of job titles as far as managers, executives, and so on and so forth. Depending upon it, keep abbreviations in mind, write job responsibility using the action word, the key job responsibility that the position entails, and one has to work around it. Include time, include travel requirements if there are any. Differentiate the requirement, that is the preferred skill and the required skill. Preferred skill is what is uh, absolutely a must thing, probably. Uh, until and unless the required skill has been completed. So the basic requirement is the required skill. You cannot go do away with the required skill. But yes, if there are certain over and above skills that is been available with the candidate, and that is what we will be calling as a preferred skill. Yes, definitely will be preferred over it. But required skill is non-compromisable. It is absolutely mandatory. Consider the length of the job description. Make it as detailed as much possible so that you don't miss out the thing, and do not make it as long as the job descriptions are mentioned so that it doesn't frighten away the incumbent, the applicant altogether. So it has to have an ambient length, probably, which will make a balance between what is required and what is just for the job, for the position of the organization. Let us come to stage number 2. This is all. Stage number 1 was all about recruitment. Stage number 2 will all be all about interviewing. Now remember, interviewing is nothing but we have entailed into the selection process altogether. So yes, what are we should be looking into the interviewing or the selection process? We'll talk about the job competencies. Essentially, job competencies are the attitude that we are looking for, the skills that we are looking for, and the appropriate behavior which we upheld altogether. So reviewing candidate materials, preparing questions, interviewing the candidate is a must all things, because this is for the first time you are having a in-face, person-to-person interaction with the candidate. You need to verify what the person is all about. It you will have a first hand information, a first hand feelings about the candidate, whether the vibes are matching with the vibes of the team and the organization there. So establishing job competencies, what are they? Let us talk about outcomes. What do you want this person to accomplish? We should be very clear about it. What are the skills that we are requiring? What actual skills, what actual knowledge must a person possess to achieve the desired outcomes? We should be talking about experiences, what experience is necessary, what experience is helpful but not absolutely must or absolutely necessary. So we are talking about the required skill, which is absolutely necessary, and preferred experiences, which might be, which is, if available, is very good. If not, nothing wrong in it actually. So there are certain experiences which you should have worked in that kind of job profile. You could have worked in that particular industry, and in if there are any other experiences which may not be absolutely necessary, but if you have a just exposure, nothing can go wrong about it. Then we talk about organizational alignment. What does it do about it? It does have a specific environment to this position requirement, that a person, what kind of personal characteristics are helpful in being a successful in the particular position that has been advertised for. We need to go about it. Let us have a look into the resume. Now, when you are going through the resume, you should see the signs for achievement, specific result. What are the transferable skills, probably the experiences that has come across it, appropriate education, work background. We need to look into the continuity, the education, the duration of employment, the gaps in the time that we are looking into it. Are there anything which is clear, incomplete, or conflicting information? Large number of relocations have been done. Job changes that do not indicate the advancement. Accuracy in spelling, as the case might be, is what we should be looking up after a point of time. This is what is true, right? So we need to understand the things more often than not. So large number of relocation, job changes that do indicate advancement, accuracy in spelling, grammar, format. You should pay attention to everything that comes in your notice as far as the resumes are concerned. Remember, this is the only time which you can probably spot any faults if there are any. A true resume will reflect impeccable qualities. But if there are resumes which have been cooked upon it, you will be able to identify if you have that minute eye for details out there. So let us talk about certain questions that can be asked or should be avoided during the selection process altogether. We need to understand them and probably agree with it. Why should certain questions not be asked? Because it makes the candidate uncomfortable, and people might think, I reckon the people might be of the opinion that things might go biased or unbiased as the case might be, and probably you will might be sued by the candidate altogether, which nobody wants to do it in the first place, right? We as a company would not like to get ourselves embroiled into any sort of litigation. So what better way is to avoid certain quizzes altogether. Let us say what is to be asked and what should not be asked or should be asked with due consideration. The gender nowadays, people won't prefer to be saying it, not to prefer. If you look into a certain online resume builders, it will say it's genders. When you are making an application, it will say genders, male, female, or will mention not willing to disclose at this point of time, something like that. Similarly, can we talk about sexual orientation or sexual identity? Now, one is an orientation and identity. Anyway, it's a private affair of an individual. Probably, how does it deal with an organization requirement? Then there is something called genetic information. Genetic information is the background of the people that people are coming from. We see these are all debatable topic as far as race is concerned, color is concerned, national origin is concerned. People are very sensitive about their religion, their age, people about their disability, conviction, the status in the military, the marital or probably the parental status. People think that these are exclusively private property for their private information for their life. Why should it be made public, or how does it impact their professional life? So let us pertinently categorize these questions and avoid it, and you will eventually come to know of it during the course of interaction if the employee actually joins and comes on board. So types of interview questions, what are they? There are basically six types. One is behavioral type. The other one would be situational type. Given a situation, how will you react? Behavioral is what kind of behavior that you interact upon it. Rapport building, sense of camaraderie, sense of people skills or friendship. Open-ended question, when you can understand their thought process, their perspective. Then there we have something called close-ended and contrary evidences, as the case might be. What are we looking as far as absolutely going against the trend and the contrary evidences, if there are any? How confident are a person to go against the trend altogether? So let us understand each of the processes one by one. Behavioral interviews are the single best predictor of future behavior is your past behavior, because you're doing nothing but extrapolating their past behavior, and accordingly will be able to understand how the future should be unfolding. Ask for specific example which show that the candidate has done in the past or what he or she would be doing in the future. Behavioral interviewing is all about past performances. Process, motivation, thought process, decision making process, assessment of situation, problem solving skills, analytical skills, and action taken. Now, what we look into it is an application of prior experiences to the future jobs situation. We need to understand what is right, what is wrong, how do we go about by it. This is what needs to be understood time and again. Let us start with three questions altogether. Question: what is your strength, or what are your strengths? If you have plentiful of strength, let please elaborate on your strength, and people will be answering it. The answer should be probably, I think, very hard. I think I'm a very hard worker altogether. So now this is it gives two perspective. It is all about yourself. I and I think and I am. What is important is what you think, what you are, as in a person, as in a third party. So behavioral would be, tell me about a project that required you to put certain extra amount of effort to meet a deadline, where you have gone beyond your skin to meet the deadline and achieve the goals. So this is one example that comes around it. Ask behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when, and you can proceed with it, when things were going wrong, when COVID-19 hit, when there was a job cut in our industry, when you were promoted and probably superseded one of your seniors. So you will demonstrate a lot of job criteria that we are interested in around. So let me say how to begin with questions. Now, tell me about a time when you exhibited such and such things, leadership, or probably the servant leader attitude that you want to go around it. Give me an example of time when you had. So these are all open-ended questions. You describe a situation in which you, probably things like that. You can complete the sentences. Describe a time when you had a particularly difficult situation with a customer. What did you do to handle that? Probably you come up with a situation. You will narrate the situation and you will narrate the outcome on how was it handled. Tell me about a work situation where you had to, or probably what you did to do that. Something goes wrong and what you do goes about it. Something was extended, then how did you manage it? Have you ever heard to, or tell me about something, and probably how did you handle it? Let's say you encounter the following situation. How will you deal with it? Give him a proxy situation altogether. Let's say, absolutely, give him a proxy situation, and let the applicant address the situation depending upon his or her intelligence, as the case might be. I believe on the star business of asking behavioral questions. Star, STAR, marked with red colors in this particular thing. Star is all about situation. S for situation, T for task, A for action, R for result. The background, the context in which the person acted is very, very important. Action is what the person did in the situation. Result is the effect of the person's action, as the case might be, if you are looking into it, what it happened. We'll talk about the situational interviewing question. This is when the candidate may not have the actual experience you're looking for. Probably you want to see how the candidate would assess the situation, probably the thought process in resolving a particular situation, probably the way he or she is analyzing the situation. If you were to develop a program for a department, what would you do? If you were to multiple tasks to accomplish, how would you prioritize those tasks, as the case might be? Let us have an understanding of effective questioning technique. Let's say, first and foremost thing, make the candidate comfortable, build rapport building questions, ask them, as it if will it be stop raining, or when do you think the sun will come out? Have an open-ended question. What do you like about the current job? Is there any issues with the current job? What do you if there are, can you elaborate? Or should I say, if the issues can be mitigated as a manager, if you have to be a manager of this particular situation, what have you would have been done? So give an open-minded question. You can obviously come up with a close-minded question which may say, how many years have you worked? So it's a number of years needs to be very fixated, right? So effective questioning techniques should be giving a contrary evidence question. You mentioned you work hard, right? So why don't you build your customer services? Can you tell me more about a time when it didn't work? So it's completely the other way around. You are basically pushing the candidate to the corner, as to say, despite all your effort, you might not achieve the desired result. In such a scenario, what have you done? Did you ever meet so? If there is a silence, it's okay. Take some time, think about it before you approach the questions or come with an answer. So interview agenda is to greet the candidate, establish rapport, set agenda for the day, announce note taking, prepare questions, probe to clarify the understanding every now and then. Give candidate enough numbers of opportunity to ask question. That is very sure. In an interview, what happens is the candidates has been only been asked question. and never been allowed a level playing field as to given an opportunity to ask question if there are any. Describe job and organization. Ask for references that verify job performances. Describe interview process. Highlight next steps. Escort candidate out and private location free from interruption as the case might be. Take notes. Inform the candidate that you will take the notes. Write down positive, write down negative, anything that goes wrong. Inform the candidate that you are observing him or her. Inform the candidate whatever has been done will be noted down, will be exchanged before you come into certain conclusion. Use keyword and phrases to remember what was said. Quote the key facts in with the word called asterisk. After interview, evaluate the behaviors. Talk it with your co-panelist if there are any. Make sure your conclusion have supporting example to support your answer. Now let's say the do's and the don'ts of interview. We begin with the do's. Do ask all the candidates the same question. Probably yes, because then it will have a level playing field to rate the candidate vis-a-vis another candidate. Do use interview guides. Do find out the type of work environment and the management style that the candidate prefers. Do engage multiple member of current staff for interview. I reckon a panel interview will be much better because it eliminates any sense of biasness, any sense of favoritism. What questions can you ask in an interview? Would you ask all the candidates these questions? Is it relevant to the job that they will be performing? Does it has to be effective and discriminatory? Let's say at the end of the interview, which you'll come to know, you will have to go through your notes. If you find which was anything that striked out altogether, which is memorable, provide an overview of a position, role in the organization. Do not, I repeat, do not provide feedback that could be interpreted as implied promise of employment. Keep it hanging, keep it absolutely frozen until and unless you have decided upon it and ready to spell it out. Till that moment, do not give anything, any promises, any indication, because it might backfire onto you. Verify that the candidate is interested in the position. Elicit questions so that they come up with an answer. Explain interview process and the next step. Thank the candidate for coming. Escort the candidate for the next interview as the case might be. We come to the third stage of selection. We are talking about evaluating objectively, checking references, making the contingent job offer, conducting the background check as the case might be. We are talking about selection out here. Yes, we remember the topic of the day is sourcing the right talent, pillars of recruitment. That is what we should be doing around it. So we should evaluate objectively the checking references, making the offer, job offer, and probably check out with the background check. So evaluate candidate, understand the criteria in advance. When I say criteria, you should understand the job and what kind of person will fit that job. Complete assessment while interviews in fresh in mind. Assess candidate responses in all selection. Compare to skill proficiency level. Base conclusion on facts, example and observation. Identify strength and limitation in each area. Note areas of weakness or probably weak data for discussion. Participates in interview team discussion. Let us stay with objectivity as far as evaluating candidates are concerned. There is a sense of central tendency, evaluator consistency, first impression, the halo effect, the horn effect. The halo effect is somewhere down the corner you are suffering from being too lenient or too strict, as in the halo or the horn effect is doing about it. See about the leniency and severity, similarity to me, something which you would we all like to have a person like who looks similar to me, who talks similar to me, who walks similar to me, who has habits similar to me. Because I am totally in love with myself, so I would love to have associated with person who are in a similar qualities that of mine. So we have this staying objectivity in the evaluating candidate. So keeping these things in mind, central tendency, evaluator consistency, first impression, halo effect, on effect, leniency, severity, and similar to me concept. So let us understand job offer letter. Notify the talent acquisition specialist when approaching the finalist in terms of shortlisting of the candidate. If external candidate, the talent acquisition will reach out to the schedule in HR interview. Discuss with them the offer. Manager needs to complete the position offer detail from. Check references. Reference check can be done by managers or task, part of task or talent acquisition specialist service level agreement, which is required, SLA. Complete at least two external references, often done. If internal finalist, the finalist direct supervisor must supply you with a written references, which should be then forwarded to use your talent acquisition specialist. Use reference check form or written summary that must be sent to HR. We'll talk about components, making the contingent job offer. Only human resources can extend an offer of employment. The contingent offer has been pending. Background checks. HR will submit the background checks. Now, conduct background check. How do you go about it? Background check must be conducted for all employees. Maybe it takes up to 2 weeks. Certain position may require Cori or Sori check that comes around it. Plan accordingly. We talk about finalist as the case might be. What is been mentioned out here at times? We need to understand what we are talking about it. Yes, why do we go around it? So what is Cori checks is criminal offender record information, or let's say Sori check is sexual offender registry information. You should always keep this thing, the criminal offender record information or sexual offender registry information. The Cori is the Sori check that comes around it with your background check. If the candidate doesn't accept the position, determine that the talent acquisition specialist to offer it to the next best candidate, the number two candidate, reassess the candidate pool, invite the people for the interview. You should not remain empty handed. You should always have a background plan to go for. And if the candidate accept the position, well and good, nothing can go wrong. Notify the person in the interview that they were not selected. Once a person have accepted the position, notify the rest of the people about their regretting that they were not been able to make the final cut. Send the talent acquisition specialist list of candidates who can personally notify to prevent duplicate communications. EEO, equal employment opportunity statement, as the case might be. Contact new hire to welcome, confirm start date, when to do it. Prepare onboarding process, communication, inform staff of the employee's arrival, logistic workspace, office supplies, computer, equipment, plan or schedule, training on the first day activities. We come to the last stage of the presentation, is the fourth one on the onboarding stages. Preparing before the employee starts altogether, university orientation or the departmental orientation that comes around it. Why exactly onboarding is so important? Because it gives a welcome collegial and professional environment, as well as the tools and resources necessary to ensure a new hire success. Provides information about the university culture, covers compliance items such as policies and required new hire paperwork, gives clarity to the position, performance expectation, ensures a connection between colleagues, the department, and probably the university, as the case might be. Let us come to the very last end of this presentation. The stages, there are basically few stages to the onboarding. Prior to the arrivals, inform the staff of the employee's arrival. Inform everybody wherein there is a new person who's going to join the team. Set up, clean the employee new office space. Work with IT to obtain and set up computer equipment. Day one is a new hire orientation. Tour of the building, probably of the office, the facility. Check in with new hire to review work schedule, dress code, office protocol. Week one, introduce the new employees to the staff. Establish access to appropriate computing resources, electronic files, copiers, fax machine. Review the job description, the position description thereaway. And we are done with sourcing the right talent, the pillars of recruitment. Thank you for watching this video.